The UK Chancellor George Osborne announced in a speech yesterday that unless significant reforms are made in the European Union, the UK may leave it, calling the EU treaties, quote, unfit for purpose, and also saying that if forced to choose between switching to the euro or leaving the Union, the UK will not forgo the pound. We are joined in the studio by the journalist and political analyst Ina Lazareva. Thank you, Ina, for joining us.
Good morning.
And also from London by i24news London correspondent Jonathan Sacerdoti. Hi, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Thank you both for joining us. So, Ina, nothing's new really under the sun, really. This has been, back and forth debate. It has become also a public debate, but also very much, a debate between the parties in the UK government. Should we or should we not leave the EU?
Yes, exactly. And this is sort of a latest political tussle with regard to this. The Conservative Party has always been traditionally very critical of EU membership. At the same time, they've actually been the party under whom most of the EU steps towards EU membership have taken place. So it's a bit of controversy within the party there. They're also facing quite a lot of pressure from other parties, notably UKIP party, which is up and coming in the UK.
Jonathan, in London and of course around the UK, is this a debate that is actually discussed on the street, or is it only confined within Westminster?
It is a debate that's popular among the citizens of the UK as well. Osborne's speech, of course, followed the Conservative leadership rejecting a call from 95 Eurosceptic Conservative MPs to allow Parliament a veto over EU laws, which damaged the national interest. And earlier this week, Foreign Secretary William Hague said that the EU's rules had to be followed by all its members, and the MP's veto plan was unworkable. So in many ways, this is the Chancellor speaking out in part to placate the party's Eurosceptics, but also to deal with the fairly even split between the population of Eurosceptic views. They say that in most polls, around 50% of the UK population would vote to leave Europe, and the Conservative Party has in fact promised a referendum, an in-out referendum, if they win the general election in 2015. They've promised that after reforming the EU, they will then give the population a choice whether or not to stay in. So this really is a case of George Osborne trying to give something back to his Eurosceptic MPs and give something back to his backbenchers in an effort to stop them dividing the party in a way that could be very damaging for the Conservative Party going into the election.
And of course, you just said that a referendum would be on call should in the 2015 elections. Has the UK public gone this way or that? Has there been some kind of increasing trend to leave the EU or decreasing trend, or has it been staying constant, the 50% statistic and all?
It's very hard to measure. I think there's, in most recent polls, there's a slight leaning towards leaving the EU, but I think the risk also is that it could be seen as a chance to show general dissatisfaction with the government and general dissatisfaction with politicians. I think the complexities of the European Union are such that most regular citizens don't necessarily understand all the ins and the outs of the European treaties, the European Union, European Monetary Union, and so it's a very dangerous thing actually for them to be able to vote on, in the sense that it could be used as an expression of general dissatisfaction, with populist parties like UKIP playing on that and as Ina said, using that in order to stoke other fairly populist but rather worrying points of view in society. Nobody can quite know exactly which way that would go. And so that's why the Conservative Party has said they're very keen that the vote would only come after they have reformed the relationship with Europe. And this is something that George Osborne is talking to now when he's saying that they would try very firmly to reform the relationship with Europe so that, in his view, we could then vote to stay in Europe. That's definitely his preference, unlike the backbench MPs who are making his and David Cameron's life so difficult on this issue.
Very difficult, and making it very much a political, London-based kind of a debate, rather. Do the people of the UK really know the pros and cons of leaving the EU? They look at Europe, they look at Europe a lot. The unemployment rates are high. The economy in the UK is relatively better than many other European states. It's very easy to glorify leaving the EU.
Yes,
what's the pros?
It is. It's true that it's easy to glorify. But there are many pros, and I think many people are aware of them. First of all, the union within the EU that allows free movement, that allows people to work all over the European Union, allows British students to study in different languages across the European Union. There's also various cooperation treaties. It's also, let's face it, it's a trading bloc, and in this day and age, most countries, the UK certainly is not China, is not India, where they can be a player in oneself. Even the US is part of a trading bloc. The UK also needs to be one in order to continue to punch above its regional weight. However, there are also many drawbacks to European membership. There's the stagnant political process. Look at Libya, look at Syria. The EU hasn't been able to present a single unified political front on that, or
and
take any
foreign
action.
policy, for instance, would the UK act differently had they not been part of the EU?
I think,
it's a very speculative question.
Yeah, it's a speculative question. You know, we saw one policy with regard to Syria, and then this was taken to Parliament and then got completely changed around. So it just depends. It's difficult to say on which issue.
And Jonathan, your last words, any pros and cons that we haven't discussed here that you think is relevant for the debate?
Sure. Well, it is true that the EU is a trading area, but the reason that EU skeptics are unhappy is because for the first time since the common market came into being in the 1970s, Europe is a shrinking market for the UK. We now sell more to the wider world than we do to Europe, and that's something that these Eurosceptic Tory MPs are very keen to point out, and they want the UK to secure support. They need the UK to secure support from all 27 member states if they're to be able to reform that, something that many of them think won't happen, but is required, of course, by the Lisbon Treaty. Right. So it's obviously a hot potato, but it's one that Cameron and Osborne are hoping to keep down in order that they might be able to win the next election.
Keep down, but it's going to creep itself back up to the headlines, I'm sure. Ina Lazareva, Jonathan Sacerdoti there in London, thank you for both joining